Good evening everyone. Welcome to another episode of Adda with Asif. Right now I am in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. I came Ahmedabad to attend WordCamp Ahmedabad, and right now I am in Multidots office. Multidot is one of the largest service company around WordPress with about 150 people, and today we are going to actually talk with Aslam Multani and Anil Gupta about their journey as an entrepreneur, how Multidot reached to this so many numbers, and they did so well in past 9-10 years, and what actually kept their partnerships so well, and what's the so special about Multidot culture. So they are able to reach this high number of 150 people, and how they are actually still doing so well in so many space. So let's talk with Aslam Multani and Anil Gupta.
Thanks, Asif, for having us here, and welcome to India and Gujarat. We have heard a lot about you, and it's our pleasure and honor to be here and share our story. And this is our story, so we pretty much kind of live with that. But when somebody like you, who actually make us get into that zone and help us to find out what we have done in the past, so it's not just kind of a feeling where we feel good to share, but when we actually go into that memory land, it also gives us a lot of energy. So thank you so much for being here and having this conversation.
Thank you, Asif, having us with you. It is a pleasure being here.
Welcome to Ahmedabad and Gujarat, Asif, and thanks for inviting us for this show. And we are equally excited, and actually we are also have a little fear that what's going to happen, what kind of questions you're going to ask. But we are sure that we are going to make the great show.
So Aslam, first tell me how you started computer and those career, and a little bit about your childhood.
Sure. I belong to a small town called Bhavnagar in our state, Gujarat. I come from a very normal family where my dad is working in a factory, and I did my schooling into the city, and since the beginning I had been very curious about how things works, right? And in my college, when I finished my schooling on the 12th grade, I had a choice what course I wanted to pursue, and as per my passion, computer was always the most thing that made me curious about, and as that I opted for computer applications, computer science, and during that course, one of my favorite professor introduced me with open source projects where the Linux operating system and PHP language was there, and that is how I came.
How long ago this was?
It was around 2007. So in 2007 it was my first year in the college. Okay. And then we started that way. So PHP was the language where I fell into love, and then the journey began with the WordPress overall.
What about Anil? How you started, and tell us a little bit about your childhood as well.
Sure. So I also have very similar background and childhood as Aslam. So we both
are you from the same place?
Yeah. So we both are from the same town, which is Bhavnagar, and after completing my high school, that was actually my first encounter with computer, because I finished my high school, and then I had to make a choice, what I want to do next. So I've been evaluating all the different options, should I go for computer science, or should I go in the medical or health, So all the different options I was evaluating, and I picked computer not as my choice, but as my need, because I had to make some money, because my father said, okay, that's it, I cannot afford the further education for you, so you have to find a job in your vacation in order to continue with your the education.
So how old you were in the time?
I was probably in the high school, so maybe 16.
17 years?
16 or 17,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So and that was a point. So I have been going to a tuition, so and in my high school, and the tuition was offering a small computer classes, so they were training. So I signed up with them. I said, hey, I want to learn computer a little bit, and if you allow me to do that, then I'll probably, I want to, actually be a trainer in your classes so that I can make some money and can, have further education. So that actually arrangement helped me, and that was my first encounter with computer, and I found like, okay, this is very cool, interesting, machine. I love to interact with it, and not only that interaction, but it also actually fulfills my need in my life, which was definitely the money was the first priority for me, to solve that problem. And so since that was a moment, then I got my financial supports in order to continue my education. Yeah, and I decided to jump into computer application. So again, that first encounter helped me to decide like, okay, this is where I want to do, because this sounds cool. And me and Aslam, we were already in the school at that time, so we already have been going to the same school.
So you're actually schoolmate.
Yes.
Yeah,
so we have been from
8th grade.
8th grade, yeah, from 8th grade, middle school. So from that until the high school, we went to the same school. We spent good time with each other. We had a small fight as well, and sometimes
like in the field.
We not like that field, not kind of that fight, but we together fought with other students.
In cricket or in other things.
So we were not actually, we were kind of a geek guys, where we were not that techie, sporty. In fact.
Sporty, yeah,
we were
right.
more on techie part, not
We're more kind of studious persons, so we're more into study and all.
Then you two also went in the college together as well.
That's correct. So after finishing our high school, we have been connected with each other. So we have been kind of, sometimes he come to my house in order to prepare for the exam. I go to his house, and we're preparing for the exams together. And that is how we have developed our friendship from school days. And when it was making a choice, like, okay, what we want to do, so we both say, hey, we both like computers, so let's go to that. So we decided to sign up in the same college, and pretty much we ended up being in the same classroom, so that is how actually my actual childhood was, and then that is how
I got introduced to the
computers and all. And the college was actually a main interesting transition for both of us, because during the college we found it was the year of 2004, and open source was something that was kind of stepping into India, because earlier everyone was more into .NET and Java and all sort of the high-end, not high-end, but probably the more closed and the technology stacks. And we found like open source is something which is very interesting. We don't have to, because see, whatever we are today, it is all because of the background that we had kind of problem. So we are here today by solving all the different kind of problems, and that has become our mission for the Multidots. At some stage where we both had very different kind of challenges in our childhood, and those challenges were actually, for them it was challenge, for us it was a problem. So we wanted to solve that problem. We didn't have any choice. Probably if we had a choice, probably we would have picked up some other options. But that we didn't have the choice, so we had to fix those problems. So problem of making money, problem of maybe
finding
a job or continue our education. And so that situation made us more optimized, and kind of that has given us we had to take some decisions, and we had to make some choices. So we had to evaluate different options. We find, okay, Java, .NET, those are like super slow. We won't be able to actually make money that fast. Open source, PHP, that is something which is quick.
Easier to start.
We don't have to invest more money.
Exactly.
So obviously for us, the base choice was open source stack. So we started up experimenting with Linux. And in our college, me and Aslam were the same group, so we were experimenting with Linux, PHP, MySQL, and a lot of different stacks around the open source. And yes, I think that was a part where we found that is very interesting. We won so many different competitions, programming competitions together.
Yeah.
So we participated, and we found like, okay, this pair works out very well. Where he was super focused about specific things and solving a problem, and I was kind of more interested into bringing interesting problem. So how so I was going around.
So he will do the like the hard code and other things, or like write the algorithm.
Right.
He will actually organize the things probably.
Correct, right.
But
So
you were doing like projects for the university, or it was like a CMP or those kind of competitions?
Yeah, so that is actually an interesting story. When we were in the first year of the college, as Anil mentioned, due to the financial challenges in the family, we had to fulfill those gaps, right? So that problem forced us to find a job in the first year itself. So luckily in the first year of college, while we were doing in the college, we find our first job. We did our first job together.
You were in college?
Yeah,
Okay.
While in the college. So
What
it was
kind of job it was?
It was programming job, and the deal for finding the job was that company was a startup, and the deal was that they will pay our college fees
For the
and
2
we
years.
will do the project for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they
You are actually extremely lucky if you think in this way.
Yeah.
That you find someone in your city where you are actually going to college and they agreed to pay your tuition. I never heard like anybody
That's
has a job that
Yeah.
the salary pays as a tuition.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's right. So that was the deal, and there was no we were not seeing at all, like no commitment. We after finishing the college, right after in the lunch, we go to the office, and then I'm not sure what is the end time. Sometimes we leave at midnight, 1, or sometimes we stay at the office.
Is it because like you have too much work pressure, or you like to work?
We liked it. It was the challenge we wanted to take.
True. So it was, as Aslam said, it was a startup, right? So they pretty much, they have handed us the keys. So we opened the office, we closed the office, and pretty much, this open source PHP that was all pretty new in that town in India. So there was a lot of experiments needed, So in order to fulfill that commitment, we have been committed from our end that whatever it takes, we have to actually get this done.
Yeah.
So that is how we decided after finishing the college we're going to the office. So from the second year we were kind of doing college and work together. So that is, the more time that we put into that job, it has actually made us more mature, more experienced.
But in that place, like, do you have like senior programmers as well to guide
It
you?
was just two of us.
Just two of us.
Okay, but still you grew your skills, still you actually kept learning even more things and
Correct.
complete your knowledge
That
in
was
PHP
right.
and moving into
Yes.
different
But
things.
that is right. I still remember, right? We were struggling with sessions in PHP. We were trying to understand.
Everybody struggles in sessions in PHP.
What is a session? How
Yeah.
you maintain a session? And I still remember that the way we resolved it, and it was on our own only. That was amazing.
Exactly. So that was a very interesting time where I think, as you said, we look at it in two ways. Yes, we were lucky. We were lucky to have some this kind of people around us who actually helped us in order to move further with our dreams. But on the other hand, we also found that before we actually got lucky, we had to actually put a lot of efforts. So we were lucky because we were there. We were actually kind of spending entire night working on the computer, working on something, and then people recognized our efforts and then say, "Hey, this is where I'm going to help." So we found that thing when you put an efforts, when you are working hard, definitely luck and good people will come around and will lift you up.
That's very true, very, very true. So tell me how Multidot happened, how you started Multidot.
Probably Anil want to answer this.
That's actually very interesting story. We have said it many times, but every time we say it, we feel like super fresh.
We are telling it first time.
Yeah. So I think it was the year of 2009.
Okay.
And
You are working somewhere.
yes. So me and Aslam, we both have been working on another technology company in Ahmedabad.
That doesn't pay in like tuition. It pays real money.
Yeah, it was a real job. So pretty much it was a real job. And in that company, we had different roles. So Aslam has been a part of very large actually projects, very complex technological implementations. and I was pretty much more into kind of managing a small team, like so I actually moved away from programming to more of a people management and leadership role. And we both were roommate. So at that time, so after finishing our job, we were talking a lot about like what he did in his work, in office work.
This is not in your city. This is somewhere else.
It's in Ahmedabad. So we were doing a job in Ahmedabad. We were living here, and we were a roommate. We were just sharing an apartment together. And so after our work hours, we were talking about how was our day, and so I shared all kind of different challenges and interesting problems that I found and encountered while managing the people. He shares all kind of technology problems that he solves. So we were kind of very excited to talk about all those aspects, and like talking about all the different problems again and again. We found like, okay, there are a lot of different interesting problems to solve. And then there was one point where we also talked like we had two choices, like we can put more efforts in our current organization and can try to implement all the ideas that we had. But we know that it is always a little slow process because when organizing such a large, then implementing the ideas and everything. So we were like looking around different options, and I think it was the year of 2009 when we made a choice that okay, now we have to actually solve. These are all the very interesting problems. Why don't we solve it ourselves? And in order to do that, we needed to have a company, we needed to have a brand, we needed to have a team and customer and revenue. So all the setup was required. And at that time, we had neither of them, right? So we were pretty much like had this desire and fire to do something. And then we started with the small steps. So first step was to set up a company, to set up a name of the company. So that is where we actually pretty much put a lot of efforts in finalizing the name. Rest of the things also were very easy, but finding out nailing down a name was something that we pretty much put a lot of efforts.
That's right.
Yeah.
But how Multidot came?
Correct. Yes.
In that process.
Correct. So in that process, we actually shortlisted a bunch of different names for the company. We're thinking about whether this is right or wrong, which will make more sense for our vision and mission. And so by going through validating all those names, filtering all those names, we didn't like any. So we spent like quite a good time, made a lot of efforts, but couldn't find a right name, for the company. And then, we made a commitment to our, the corporate lawyer that, okay, we are going to set up a company on 1st May 2009, which is interestingly the Foundation Day of Gujarat, Foundation Day of Maharashtra, and it is I think the Labor Day as well. It's a Labor Day, the first of May. So so interestingly, we have given a commitment to our chartered accountant that okay, this is the day where we have to set up the company. So
but you have not selected the name yet.
No, so we were just kind of going. We were just driving. I think it was Aslam's motorcycle. I was riding the back seat, and we were going there. We had to actually have a name, before we actually reached the office.
Okay.
So there was
the ride.
Yeah. So we were riding, on the road, and we were still thinking about what we are going to do. So
if it became a movie, then it will show like you two are riding a bike. The time line is actually going in, and you have to decide before you reach.
Absolutely.
That's
so
that's already dramatic.
Exactly. It's super dramatic. And now the point comes in where it was a traffic stop. Okay. So we got a red signal. Okay. We were on the road, and that was a moment. We got like our 3 or 4 minutes, because traffic. Well, we had to stop it, and that is where we coined the name.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes, just like that. So we said, okay, what we are going to do? So we started to collect, different ingredients. So the first thing was the dots, right? So .com. .com is a part of the URL. Yeah. So we wanted to build our organization around the internet. So we thought whatever we are going to do, we are going to create solutions and tools for which can be powered by internet. So dot was something that we wanted to be a part of our name. And then it was a matter of another actually thing like dot is something that represents so many different aspects. Dot so many different dots joined together make a screen. Pixel is a dot, atom is a dot, so every small element, which is one element, when they combine together, they form a shape and form something. So we say, okay, dot is small but mighty, when it comes to the importance. So we thought we need to have include the dot. Now the matter was like how we will actually form a name around the dot. So I said probably one dot because we are two, so we say two dots.
No, that will be good people name if you go with the name. Two dots.
Yeah, I said let's two dots. I said no,
two dots, not two.
We need to grow this company, right? So multi-dots. We are going to have the multi-dots.
Just like that.
And that's how nobody else found, So and the signal was great, and we had a name, and we did to the office, and we said
that is sign maybe.
That's clearly dramatic, or like you guys are making it up.
Yeah, I don't know. It was really that.
Actually,
that's like very interesting.
The scenario was that the names that we came up earlier, we found it very generic. Like that is why we never liked
something
the name.
something solution, something idea.
Yeah, exactly. So in fact, when we were frustrated with this name, at one point of time we decided that okay, if he doesn't find anything interesting, maybe we will go with untitledsolutions.com.
No, untitled. Yeah, that was our the last name. Like if we don't come up with anything, we'll tell everyone. We couldn't find a
that would be a very interesting name though.
Of course.
So that was the plan. Like we will tell people like we couldn't figure out a name for our company.
But that also shows like immaturity.
So yeah, that is
how we came up. Like 2 dots or 3 dots. Then why not multi-dots?
Yeah.
So interestingly and dramatically, Multidot formed in 2009, if I'm right. Then I would like to know a little bit more in depth, like how a company that is formed in 2009 by two of you guys, like a normal guys, without having like a lot of fund in hand, without like a lot of contracts in hand, how you reach to this point, having like almost about 150 people and one of the largest, one of the most reputed service company in a much bigger ecosystem like WordPress. So how this journey came and how you became this big?
I think there are so many different things which actually helped us to reach where we are today. Of course, in this entire 10 years of journey, we made so many different decisions. We had our own share of learnings and failures, so that was also, you can consider that as a big contributor in what we are today. But in the beginning, the idea was that it's pretty much same for every startup, right? Where we don't have a right kind of infrastructure to attract the talent, right? We don't have big brands in the portfolio, so on our website, on our showcase to the prospect customer. So pretty much we were also in a very similar situation where we had to make a call like, hey, we don't have anything as of now. It's just two of us. This is an idea. Then how we are going to make our first move, right? Because that first move is important. First employee and the first customer, that is super important. And so that in that point of time, we decided that was actually a moment which actually gave us a time to decide and define our ethics. We say, okay, this is what we are going to do. We will be real and transparent with everyone. We are not going to hide anything. We are not going to show anything beyond what we are. So that was the first decision that we made internally. And we said, because this is a situation, we can't hide anything. We can't actually portray something that we are not, right? So we decided to be real and to tell the real and actual picture to our customer and our the employees. So when we decided to hire some people, we said, hey, look, this is who we are. We are operating from an apartment.
Yeah.
We just have two computers.
Two of us.
Two of us.
Yeah.
I mean, our bedroom is next to our office.
Like I have room full of people and they are developers.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
So
that's interesting.
Yes.
A lot of people does that. They bluff until they make it. So that's like saying like bluff it until you make it.
Right. So that was the reason I highlighted this point, because we also had that idea, why don't we bluff? But then we made a choice, this is what we are going to do.
From the beginning.
That's
interesting.
Right.
Building that trust, right?
Building that trust. So we said the trust will be something, trust and the transparency. These two things is something that we will always deliver whoever actually partner with Multidots. and
Are you pursuing like local clients? At
that time we evaluated some of the local clients. We tried to have work with them as well, but for some other reason it didn't work out much.
Any of you had any experience in like freelancing or like outsourcing?
I did a little bit of that, when I actually left my last company, so I had a small span where I tried to work with, some of the local agencies in order to
as a freelancer.
But that was like very small span.
International work. You didn't try like Odesk or anything?
No, not at all. Not before starting Multidots.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess the trust was the most important thing which helped us in acquiring our first customer as well, right?
Correct.
I still remember the way we convinced our first customer that, hey, we do not have any portfolio or we do not have working experience, but what we have is the passion to solve the problem or passion to work, and delivering that trust in our words, and then delivering the same level of trust and commitment by finishing the job. Now, I guess that was the one of the main important thing that kept us working and proving ourselves what we wanted to do.
So I'm expecting you grew organically at the beginning, so you probably got more project and like start hiring people. You need like different project, need different people, you start hiring those. But how you actually break the 100 people barrier? Because as I have run software company, I know like how hard it is to give the salary in time, keep the payroll running, and move up with the growing needs of the company in like space, obviously space and other things. So how you are able to actually come and break the 100 people barrier? Right? How that happened?
Correct. So I think while we were actually scaling Multidots, when there was a point where we pretty much kind of done a lot of interesting things within the Multidots.
But you probably found something that actually you are good at, and then you could actually keep selling to other people as well.
Right.
So then you had the opportunity to scale.
Right. So we had a team. We had a bunch of customers who trusted Multidots. We had a good success stories that we have built, and then it was a point how far we want to go from this point.
How big you want to be?
How big we want to be, and so there was a point where we decided. I think it was the 5th year of Multidots. So by that time,
how big you were in that time?
I think at that time probably 60 45, 60.
So you are already 60.
Yeah.
Okay. How hard was this 60 people's journey? Like from 0 to reaching to this 60? Was it like the hard portion, or 60 to like 150 right now? That is the hard one.
Right. I think probably me and Aslam, we both have a different opinion, but in my opinion, the way I see it, the initial 5 year, I believe that was a little tough, it was very tough and more challenging.
You're fighting a war without any kind of weapons.
Correct.
So
that's true. Yeah. So
you're doing the sales, he's taking all the leads.
Yeah.
After you have few people that relies on you, that have some talents in their own,
correct,
you could fight with more soldiers. So
true.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So having those 60 people, that is where we found we had a lot of interesting challenges and time.
Good team members as well.
Yeah. And the moment we hit our the fifth year milestone, we had some processes established, we had trust established among the team, among the customers and all. But I think it was not challenged. So after 5 years, we had bigger problems, but there's better problems. So in the 5 years, the problems that we have been kind of dealing with them first time. So that was the reason we found those problems were small. So we enjoyed solving that, but after 5 years, the problem, the size and the scope of the problem grew. So anything that we are planning to do, we have to put a lot of efforts, energy, and time, and kind of maybe a different kind of strategy that we need to evaluate. Because when you are small, pretty much you can do pretty much on your own. But after you grew from 50, when you are kind of move from 2 to 50 or 60, then there is a lot of then probably that is a long lag right? In order to implement something, right? There is the people that you need to train.
It makes it complex.
It makes it a little bit. I mean, instead of complex, I would say, it has to be different. When you're doing something directly and when you want something to be getting.
If we talk about like micromanagement,
right?
So that's come into play when you are actually growing.
Correct.
Because if you are that kind of CEO who actually are used to in like putting your hands in everything, then it will be hard growth.
Exactly. So that is what I'm saying. So for example, like when we were small, like earlier to 5 years, like if there is any idea, when we wake up in the morning, we within a few hours we just get it done. I mean, that kind of control and the access we had. But when we were like 50-60 people, we knew that so at that point, the fifth year of Multidots, the way we decided to grow is that we in Aslam, we say, okay, we need to actually split our role and focus and responsibility. We can't keep doing the same thing again and again.
Yeah.
So that was one point where we made a call. Like, first of all, we both need to be organized. We both need to actually get more structured. So then we decided I will take care of the part where the serving people is something that I was more passionate about. So how to interact with client and making sure that all the clients are happy, bringing new customers, bringing new problems and idea, and making the team over here they also need to feel motivated and happy and kind of connected with this growth. So I was working more on that part in order to make sure that the serving people aspect is kind of fulfilled. When it comes to solving those problems, I cannot be a part of that execution. So that is where Aslam was more passionate about in solving interesting problems. And then that is how we decided I'm going to take care of this part, he's going to take care of this one. And internally we also trained the team in that actually.
But if that decision came directly, or like you tried out different things, then you find out that maybe that is the right placement of our talent, and that will be the way we will be comfortable in having this partnership and keep running this company with a fine tune.
Right. Yeah. So it actually, we had to go through different process, but as we have been knowing each other for a long time,
that's
that was an advantage.
Since college or even before
so we already knew
with somebody.
We had a trust. We had that confidence on each other. We knew what are the things that I'm good at. He pretty much knew it, so we didn't have to spend much time on debating those things. Right? So I mean, it was just like, hey, I want to do this. He said, I want to do this. Okay, perfectly. You should do that because I know that you are good at that. And if I come up with some idea, he know that okay, this is how Anil is. This is how he thinks. So probably you are the best person to do it. And the same goes for him. So we didn't have to spend much time internally because that tuning was already rooted from the school days.
Just if you answer me in short, from these 60 people to in 5 years, then in next 4 years you reach 150. So in this point, beside you two, how other key resources of your companies, like other good managers, good team leaders, or HR people, what kind of role they play, and do you think having those kind of people also play a good role, has an important effect on your growth?
Yeah. I'll answer it in this way where, as Anil's talk, right, trust was one of the key element where, I think it has played a very important role, where in terms of customers, trust was helping us, in both of us, between us, the trust was the most important part. And I guess the same thing, trusting on our team members, that has helped us a lot, where, in the initial years, we had given opportunities to the freshers, to the college interns, right? And where they trusted us that here is a company where I can get something learning, and we trusted on them. And many members from our leadership team, actually, they are since the beginning they are with us, and they started their journey as a developer, and now they are acting as a TL or project manager.
Because now they have over 8 years experience.
That is what I'll say, that trusting on them, that
that says the the kind of rapport you have built with the team and kind of way you try to promote the transparency, that actually ultimately worked out. So if your team has like so many like broken parts, if it's actually shifted multiple times, then maybe the growth will be slower because you need to bring in more people and try their talent. But you had few people at least that actually keep trusting on you and like keep building Multidots even bigger.
That's right.
That's right. And I think this entire actually thinking around the trust and transparency goes in this way, where we in the very early stages we decided that we won't be able to grow this company alone, right? So me and Aslam. So the idea was that, like, for the 5 years, the amount of trust and amount of training and transparency that we have provided within the team and all. So we have designed one actually, we have a kind of, and structure, the balance structure where company, clients and employee, these are the kind of 3 important elements. Like in any organization, your team, your customer and the management, or the management includes founders, investors, directors. So that is one kind of group, the customer and the employees, your team. Most of the times what happens, like the founders or the directors, they actually spend more time with the client, and they believe it is their responsibility to actually make customer happy or make fulfill the customer's needs. So what happens that we as an organization, we spend too much time and energy with our customer, right? And so there is a disconnection over there, right? And
the team doesn't have the same feelings.
Same feeling. So what we did, like instead of we focus on customer, we try to focus more on our team. So Multidots is employee first company. We are not customer first. We boldly and proudly say that we are not a customer first. We are an employee first company, which means we as a founder, we as a management, we focus more on our employee and our team. We kind of try to provide them right kind of thinking and culture so that they can focus on our customer and they can take care of our client. So we take care of our employee take care of our client, and our client take care of us. So that is how actually balance everything.
Okay, that's actually pretty different than most of the companies we see generally. But so you are employee focused, and the employee is also like company focused. So ultimately, like they will take care of the customer ultimately better.
Right.
How this synergy is actually you started this from the beginning and is still going?
Yeah. So it was still from the very first day, and it is still the same. Yeah.
So this is interesting to find the way you are pretty clear about. I'm sure like it doesn't this clear as it sounds right now, but you had some certain vision from the start. Like be transparent. That's a very interesting message to have a company from the beginning, and with the employee focus. That's also a different message. So let's talk a little bit about like customer side as well. So at the beginning, as you answered, like you also have you tried local clients, you tried international clients, then I guess like you also work in marketplace and other things. So if you could tell me a little bit in details about the change of shift of the clients from the beginning to after 8 years, what kind of clients you deal with, what kind of clients you're dealing right now, and how this change actually happened.
Okay. I mean, earlier when me and Aslam, when we were working, we already working with international customers, right? So we already got a chance to work with customers in North America, Europe. So we both personally had an experience, working with international clients. So when we started Multidots, we decided to, when you're a startup, you have to do a lot of experiments, right? So instead of, at that time, when it comes to the customer group, we wanted to try and work with different kind of customer group in order to see where we actually are approved to be based. So we started with some local customers. We started with small startups, working with some agencies, because we had a very good engineering and technical talent. So selling the technical talent to other agencies on B2B relationship, that is always very easy.
You will have those people hired on your payroll, but you will actually lend those to those companies.
That's right. So that is how we actually, pretty much started relationship with different new customer group. So I think even today as well, it is the same, so there is not much modification has been done.
But the number of customers increased.
Yeah, so number of customers has been increased, and our focus and our actually the way how we actually provide. So probably the customer group pretty much is same, but within that customer group, how we can actually, we have increased the value.
Yeah.
So we have actually increased the value chain in order to serve that customer group in a more better and effective way. So most of the startups, that in the very early stage, we started working with agencies and other small startup, and SMEs was our main target. Small medium enterprises.
Yeah.
And while working with them, of course, it's great learning experience, because they are also small businesses and startups, so they understand, they are open for experiments and that phase. So we established the trust on that phase, and many of those startups, after 4 years, 5 years, they actually grew to a larger corporation, larger businesses. And so that actually has that actually helped us to focus, if we are working with that customer 4 years ago, there was a very different kind of the expectation they had. Now with that change, we also need to bring the change within the organization. So same company working 5 years ago, now they have a different kind of need, they have different kind of expectations.
Yeah.
And in order to fulfill that expectations, we also made so many different changes in our services and the value and the tools.
In your explanation, you and your client grew together.
Absolutely, that's the perfect way to describe that.
That is the perfect way. And so,
That's
in our early
interesting.
years, as we were also startup, in the US also, many of our customers were also startups, and we grew together. And at this stage also, in Multidots, we have more than 60% repeat customers, repeat business, right? So where we have
the first point of building block of this company, being transparent, paid off, also being team focused of your own.
Right.
That actually lead you to actually create this kind of synergy.
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
we have many case studies where with the customers we are working since we are the
6
only
years.
we are 6 years, 7 years. They are still with us.
Yeah. So having this long-term relationship, and again, another actually thing that we paid very good attention is when actually you spend long time with any relationship, at some point in time it becomes a burden. If you don't actually add a value, if you don't increase the efficiency, so it's our job. If you are in the relationship, it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that the relationship actually flourish and don't become a burden. And we understood this pain, when the very early stage when it comes to our relationship with our employee and the client. And so that was the reason, that was a fire that actually helped us to grow from this. So we constantly looking into different ways where we can improve and enhance our relationship with our people. And in order to do that, we made a lot of different interesting implementation within the organizations, in order to make our relationship. We actually, it was our job to bring more interesting challenges for our team in order to solve that, so they don't feel like, okay, I'm doing the same thing for last 6 years.
Yes.
And the same thing goes for our client, they should not feel like, I'm getting the same kind of services in the last 6 years. So in order to make sure that, we also deliver some values, because the relationship will last long if, we are constantly and consistently giving the more values. And for that was the reason we decided to have an international office and having more people who can actually, fulfill the need of the customer. So that is why we now have an office in Virginia in the US. So that's our first North America office. In coming years, we are also planning to have another office in Europe. So those are some of our commitment in order to make sure that this relationship always gets new values.
Yeah, and the company keep improving all the time. We are actually having this Adda suddenly almost because I am here only for a few days. But I actually wanted to talk to you guys in depth. Is because last year I also came in Ahmedabad. You are not in the town, but I had good time. I have spent good time with Aslam, and I have also spent good time in Multidot in that time as well. I noticed a very strange thing. But whenever I had an opportunity to talk to any multi-dot employee, I noticed like something is very different. Than like I have multiple companies. I've been to a lot of different places to be able to talk to a lot of different companies. I noticed like people in multi-dot are very much used to like explaining themselves.
Right.
If I ask them about like why this company does this thing in this way, like I'm not asking that question to a like marketing guy who is used to in sales or something. So he's used to in selling multi-dot. I'm asking somebody who is maybe a programmer from like WordPress team or from mobile team. Like I kind of find like multi-dots people are like kind of too energetic. They're like kind of like spontaneous about like saying how they do. And if I ask somebody anything, they will actually bring me to a wall. There is like something written that actually goes their core vision. So I keep hearing about multi-dots company cultures and the vision. If you could, both of you could actually describe me a little bit like what's unique about like your company culture and how that actually created this kind of vibrant environment among all the young people. I see all the young people in the office. So how did it happen and what kind of like different things you have in the company?
Right. So when it comes to the company, I think we didn't form the company first. We formed the culture first. So the culture was something that we actually paid a lot of time, attention and energy. So before it was the company, it was the culture actually. And when it comes to the culture, it's about how we should do the things. Because see, there are thousands of ways to do the same thing, right? And we wanted to differentiate. I mean, not just for the sake of differentiating, but we really wanted to actually build this organization in a form and in shape so that we all feel proud on doing these things. It should not be stressed, it should not be disrespected. So we it was our commitment that we want to bring a kind of culture which actually respect each other, which actually gives them a purpose to be a part of this organization. And so
let me interrupt you a little bit, okay? In my vision, I always feel like a company, before it becomes a company, it has to be a team. The branding and the culture needs to come second.
Right.
So I'm really interested to know like why, because it's almost like contradictory that you feel like the culture was built first.
Correct.
One thing that came in my mind, maybe the main thing what we call team, you guys are already team because you started together, fought the problems together, you struggles with the problems and you find like unique solutions with together. So maybe you are a team already. That's how you need to have some boundaries, you need to have some rules, you need to have some ground basics, how you will operate together. So that's why probably you are describing it as a culture. So that could be one thing I could see, that the team was already there. You need to have some rules then that you are calling the culture. So describe a little bit more about like how this culture is different from others and how it's actually letting you move even further.
Right. So I think in a nutshell, the way our culture actually describes, it actually derives from our mission and everything, super connected, and that is what gives us confidence to believe in this culture. So we think that every aspect of what we do, there's two actually important elements. One is logical and another is emotional. When it comes to processing the data, when we have to take the right decision, we use our brain, right? And we as a human, we also utilize our heart many times in order to make some decision. So there is not a single actually choice or decision or action that is just logical, not emotional. And when we try to actually utilize any one of them, we always found we regret that decision. If we are trying to be too professional and too logical, that's not good. If you try to just be emotional, that is not good. So we need to balance. We need to balance it, and that is how we actually decided. When it comes to serving people, we need to have an open and welcoming heart. When it comes to solving a problem, we need to have a smartest brain. And that is how this heart and mind comes into the picture. And so this is, when to use heart, when to use your mind. This thinking we have given on the very early stage in the multidots, and that is what I entirely described the multidots. And probably Aslam can actually give a more glimpse about how we actually balance these two things.
Sure, and as Anil mentioned, like anything we do, we always utilize our mind and heart both. And probably we have a graphics on our wall out there where we have literally divided heart and mind section out there. Where it is also there. There you
mind
see.
and heart.
So all the activities, like for example, think from mind and act from heart. So let's say that is the first statement that we follow, and that is where we have trained our team a lot on all these aspects. Where let's say if you have some problem or anything in your personal life or professional life, think from mind, but when it is time to act on something, use your heart. So let's say if you want to appreciate someone, or use your heart, appreciate from your heart, or if you want to scold someone, or if you want to actually give feedback about something, use your heart, so that you tell him the right thing, but with a heart, so that you actually not hurting his feeling, but respecting him.
Yeah. So what needs to say that need to come from the mind, and how you tell it, that comes from the heart.
From the heart.
So
And solving problem, solving problem, it is already coming up. Serving people from heart, but solving problem from the mind. And again, the last statement we coined out was being humble and ethical, but working smart, right? So when you are behaving in a company, always be humble and ethical, but when it is time to work, be smart.
So that's kind of personality attribute that we expect from all our dots. We tell them like this is personality attribute that everyone, even me,
Everyone
Aslam,
has to
everyone
develop.
we need to have a sharp brain, but we also need to have an open heart, and we need both. We need to have a balance and both. If somebody says like I'm the smartest, the person in the kid, but some other person on the earth, but that person doesn't have that openness or willingness to accept other people, right attitude, probably they are the right fit for multidots. And same goes for the other person. Like somebody is kind of too humble and too open, but doesn't have that sharp brain, then probably that won't work out.
Right thing.
So guys, we heard in depth about like how company grew, how you came to this point. Now, as it an informal discussion, so we are like friends already. Like this is the first time I'm meeting you, but we have communicated so much already. So I know about two of you. In generally, one of the critical part I have always seen in a partnership, in any partnership, it's very hard to deal with in times. Most of the time it's very hard to keep up the partnerships in different phase of life. So you two are running amazingly for like a long time, and it's actually long time since class 8. That means almost like 20 years maybe.
So 10 years of business partnership and 15 years of friendship.
23 years. This is a long time. So if any of you or both of you could actually shed some light about like when you are going through this long relationship, obviously you have dealt with Aslam the most, then even his wife. So you have known all of his like bad and negative side and positive side, all of it. And for you, it's the same thing. Like you are dealing with this person for a very long time, so you know about like every person have like some comfortable zone. Every person have his own opinions, how they operate, how they deal. How do you deal with those? And like if you are getting confused how to answer this question, let's start with like something that annoys you about Aslam and how you actually deal with that. Then we will go to Aslam as well. So what is the like a few pinpoint that you actually find it hard to deal with about Aslam and how you have done? Because I could understand you are already dealing with that. So how that works? Sorry for making you uncomfortable. I could do that because I am your friend.
Right.
So you can't blame me.
Absolutely, that's perfectly fine. And in fact, I'm glad that you asked this question, because there are very few people who actually dare to ask this question.
As I'm friends, I'm not going to do anything.
I mean, nobody dare actually bold enough to ask this question, but I'm glad that you asked it, because our friendship and our business partnership, both those relations are such a proud and such a pleasure for all of us. We are always happy to share, about what's going on there, and that's the reason I ask you. Like, I'm very happy to answer that. So, when it comes to the Aslam,
what do you find like hard to deal with, and how you deal with it so far?
Correct, right. So that is actually, probably, I mean,
Don't tell me it's non-existent. Like every person has some.
actually it is do.
Okay.
Actually, it doesn't exist, because when it comes to dealing with us,
He's not human.
No,
He sounds like God.
no, I'll tell you, like, dealing with Aslam, it's definitely not a hard thing or a complex thing. He's super comfortable, and I mean,
So maybe easy to go.
yeah. So
then
walking with him, having a conversation with him, having conversation.
Dealing with like conflicts. That's how things start.
Correct. Yeah. So that is where I will actually, I can actually come to that. Like when it comes to the conflict, so that trust and transparency that I mentioned to you, that actually played a very important role in building this multi-dots in our relationship with client and our relationship with employee. Same goes in our relationship as well, right? Like whenever we find there is, first thing is, we are very transparent. If he doesn't like something, if he
will be vocal about it.
Yeah, he will say like,
Okay.
despite our friendship, despite our relationship, that is very clear understanding between us. Like, we should be able to talk and share whatever we feel, right? So there should not be a barrier that, okay, we are friends, or how I will take it, or how he is going to take it. So we don't have that barrier, right? And which means like we can talk about, and that is very important. That is actually, very important in any kind of relationship and partnership. When we stop talking with each other, start assuming and presuming the stuff, then there is no any stronger, so talking about
It's not going to work.
it's not going to work for sure. So yes, the fact is, in this 10 years, of course, we had several such tough situations where we need to deal with each other. We had several, maybe tough and rough conversations that we had to deal it, in order to actually do it. We did that, and every time we do it, we feel more comfortable to do it, because that actually keeps both of us more actually aligned to the vision. Like sometimes, I get off track on what we need to do. He's bold enough to remind me, hey, this is not something that we actually signed up for. This is not something.
Is it like you going to America and not coming back? Going to Las Vegas and not coming back? It's not like that.
Yeah, it's like that. This is the
Come back,
yeah.
I need you.
That is right.
Yeah. And I think same goes with me, so probably, I mean, I would say like, probably he would be like, I will be more difficult for him,
He will answer that question.
Yes, yeah, I will be more difficult for him for sure. But for me, I haven't found any difficulties working with him.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's becoming like too like democratic, or like too like he's speaking like very formal. So
Right.
but could you
No,
be more?
but if you ask me the right question, for example, if you ask me like, what are the one advice that I have for us, I can give you that.
Let's do that after this question. So
Okay, sure.
please tell me like what is the most annoying or like hard to deal with things about Anil, and how you are dealing with that.
Sure.
And
Well,
you have to be frank. Otherwise, don't answer.
Okay.
Like, no problem.
yeah, well, so as you mentioned, like the most important thing for me is, where, if you personally interact with each of us more, you will identify like, despite being together, we do have a completely different, nature with each other. Where, I believe that, personally, what I have observed all the time is that wherever there are, wherever I'm ending or I'm stopping, that is where Anil compliments me, and Anil has been always, the source of motivation. I call him like a powerhouse of energy, and that is always I have found it, right? And if you say about the annoying thing, I'll say it cannot be annoying, but it can be like, okay, you are running too fast, right? And I have to run that. So instead of taking it as an annoying thing, I take it as a pushing thing for me, where
So is it like then really true that he teach you how to run fast? Because I have seen like yesterday you ran too fast.
obviously. Yeah, that is how it is, we consider
Keep up with the pace. Huh?
yeah.
But, I got your point, and from my experience, I have asked this question to so many very interesting partners. I have seen like your answer is exactly aligned. I could feel that. Like I'm not taking like you are not being frank or other things. I could understand like this type of relation could work a long time only like you have enough respect for each other.
Yeah, that is
That's the main base.
That is
The
right.
second thing is one of them in the relationship had to be a little more considerate.
Yeah.
So I could understand, like, I don't know, like, who or whom of you actually does like play that part, but I'm sure like one has to be considerate in few portions of the relationship about the decision and other things. So that's probably the main synergy, what actually kept you going and what created these amazing relationships. So what you meant that Anil is a source of a lot of fresh energy.
Yeah.
We all know that. Like, look at his Facebook profile picture. You could see like this person smiles a lot.
That's right.
The way he writes his blog, the way he does a lot of things,
course.
it's very clear that he's inspiring. He could literally be like a good leader kind of figure for a company. At the same time, that people respect in like solving problems, or when it comes to follow rules, when it comes to like how they want to deal with some certain rules, how even what can happen this year and last year.
Yeah.
It has a lot of effect of you following rules, following like what foundations tells you to do, what actually like you ask your teams to do. So I could understand like how it could complement each other. Then let's go to that portions where you give your favorite and close friends some advice in front of us.
Sure.
So we all could say, and
Sure.
what advice you have for Aslam?
Correct. So there's only one advice that I have for him,
Yeah, sure.
which I have seen this man, the amount of talent, amount of the smartness this person has,
And already proven.
already proven, right? For 14 years. So I have seen this person, the kind of talent that he has, in the last 14 years, of our friendship. And every time I feel like, he's actually utilizing maybe 20 or 30% of his overall smartness, So I still believe like, he's still...
Why is he focusing instead of like utilizing?
No, I mean...
Is he like not confident enough?
No, so I mean, for example, right now, the amount of energy and the amount of talent that this person has, somehow he's utilizing very less percentage of, he's not utilizing his 100% of the potential.
It is like Newton, it is like Einstein, like where you are already using
like
1% of your brain.
Don't use 100%, then people become brain right.
Correct. So I'm not yet talking about
100%.
Yeah. So he's one of that person.
In a single sentence, like how he could utilize more. I'm learning from this as well. Like it seems like this is a good advice for anybody. So how he could utilize his smartness or his expertise even more. Or what do you suggest?
Correct. So I think see, generally what happens, like every person has one personality layer, right? So I think the only one thing that he has to break is he just need to instead of opening up, he just need to focus on, because what happens is right now he actually pays a lot of time and attention on so many different things, but maybe if he try to organize or prioritize, then probably it can be better.
Maybe it was okay for past 10 years of the company, but now it's time to go to the next level. And maybe this could be true for you in some aspects as well, because you are also taking a lot of leads. So that could be like very interesting advice. And this is a advice that maybe any entrepreneur who is running the business for 10 years, a lot of like loose ends he creates with the path of the entrepreneurship journey. So now probably it's a good time to rethink and like focus more. So do you have any direct suggestions to Anil? Like he's feeling shy. He looks like maybe he like recommend something that he doesn't like. So
I have a very interesting talk here, but like Anil mentioned for me, and Anil was the one who pushed me to attend that Tushita retreat, and I found it very much interesting.
We do not have time to actually talk about that experience, but that was like fantastic.
That was fantastic. It was amazing.
Let people assume like what you had. They will not know, but
check out our Facebook page or maybe our blog. We'll write about it.
That's right. In India, there was a movie released, a couple of years ago, Rais from Shah Rukh Khan.
I know, from Ahmedabad.
From Shah Rukh Khan from Ahmedabad. There was a very...
probably let everybody know that to meet Steve in Ahmedabad. You've seen it so many already.
That was a very popular dialogue, like Baniye ka dimag and Miya bhai ki deri, right? Like it was like
so what does that mean in English?
Yeah, in English, it is like a daring kind of a nature of a Muslim person, that is me, and a thinking strategistic mind of of a person, another person.
So Baniya is a kind of caste,
Baniya.
you know, it's one of the caste in Hindu.
Yeah.
So I'm from that caste, Baniya.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so
So,
right, so-
that dialogue is made for you guys.
Maybe. Who knows? Who
It's
knows,
too
right?
dramatic.
Yeah.
I know you like Shah Rukh Khan too much, and you are influencing him in this way.
Of course. Yeah. So
you guys are like unbelievable.
so maybe I really take that dialogue very seriously, where Anil uses his mind a lot, and sometimes I guess not as a one thing to improve, but Anil thinks a lot before taking some step, wherein I always push like, okay Anil, if you think don't hesitate, don't worry about it, it will be finished.
Calculative. That's a really good thing. Like he's very calculative.
Yeah.
So, but you think like sometimes he thinks too much before even taking a decision. So maybe you need to take a leap of faith and like let some things go, or like do things by impulse. Or do things in impulse without like planning much.
Maybe.
Right. No, he's right. Yeah, he's definitely right about it, because sometimes I take quite a. It's about
Is it like the decision making process is too long, or like you consider like too many like odd effects that could come in? I could completely understand that kind of like dilemma that like an entrepreneur always goes through.
True, right. So I'm a little bit wired like that, so my brain is a little bit wired in a way where when it comes to taking a critical decisions, I always want to make sure, because I told Aslam many times, like I hate to be failed. Failure is my biggest actually motivation, because I don't want to face the failure, and that's the reason I prepare.
That also has like wrong effects in life, though. You need to embrace the failure.
No, I mean, see. So my perspective. That is why that is you're right. Like so many times I have heard like people say that we have to be. We have to accept the failure, and the failure is okay. For me, it's not okay, because the moment I feel like failure is okay, I want to actually put my 100%, so when I'm scared of failure,
the way you deal with life, then it's okay. Like I don't know, like if you guys remember, like the Hero Press article I have, the tag in like Topher used in like he liked that dialogue of me the most is like, if you consider life as a journey, in life you will actually have failure. You need to actually learn from it and move on. So I could completely relate. Like losing in a battle, it's actually not end of the wire. Sometimes you need to actually lose, just you could actually wake up and like even team up betterly, so you could actually fight back. So about the planning part, like I have like so many.
But I would like to say that while I find this dialogue very interesting one, but it has played a very important role. The thinking power always played an important role, where we literally like reduce the risk by just thinking about them.
So guys, we are almost in the last segment of these discussions and the conversation. So I would like to actually talk to you or like listen to you about like what's in the future in general for Multidots, for you guys, and if you have like any kind of like advice or like wisdom you want to actually share with all of us.
So I think
Is it like tough questions?
I mean, so things are like there is so many different things, so tough in a sense where finding out like what will be the way will make more sense.
Whatever like comes first in your mind.
Right. So I think the first thing is definitely after running this company for 10 years, we realized that the world is a very complex place. Every person's life is a very super complex. They're dealing with a lot of different complex situations in every day, every time. And we want to become a part of an organization which actually solves those problems and reduce that stress, so reducing the stress of customer, reducing the stress of our team, in order to by being more organized, by providing more focused and more actually efficient way of dealing with different situations. So that is where our focus is, to make this organization more efficient, more focused. So now what we are going to do is in the future, where we know that these are some of the areas where we are very based at. So we are going to focus more on that. We are going to invest our time, energy, and skill in those areas. And some of the other maybe a market or area where we are not that much good, or probably someone else is definitely can be a better fit. So we are actually slicing down so many different distractions that Multidots as an organization we are dealing right now. And going forward, we need to have a very precise focus. Like, this is where we want to go. This is the kind of market we want to serve, and this is kind of the tools and technology that we are excellent in. So that is one part of the focus.
Is this where like WordPress come into place? Because I know from Aslam, like you guys have focused so much in last 1 year or more in WordPress, and you have like a large portion of the company is completely like focused in WordPress. So do you think like we will see your more concentration on WordPress in coming years?
Right. So the way we see Multidots in the future is this, where we think of a Starbucks. Starbucks is when you think about a Starbucks, the first thing that comes in the mind is a coffee, right?
There's another stuff too, though.
Right, exactly, right? So when it comes to everyone in the world, they know Starbucks as a coffee company, and most of the people who actually go to the Starbucks, they have coffee as a common interest, and then probably they go and buy a sandwich or buy a water bottle or buy maybe several other things. We think Multidots in that sense, where Multidots will want to become a WordPress. When people see Multidots, they would see us as a WordPress company.
That's like very interesting like comparison. That like people
Right.
think like they will go to Multidots, they will get like WordPress as a like default. Then you will get like smaller apps, smaller these things.
So coffee goes with the coffee always pairs very good with the cookies and the other things, right? So we understand people who walk in into Multidots, they definitely are the people who want WordPress, but they don't need only WordPress. They probably need a couple of small other
ecosystems.
And we don't want to actually add complexity in their life in order to say, hey,
we don't want to go somewhere else.
Yes. So we want to actually keep maybe a couple of things which complement the WordPress, so that we can provide our customers a seamless and one-stop experience. So that will be the future of Multidots.
And I also know like though the company itself in terms of various other factors have grown so much in 1 year, but in terms of the number of people working in Multidots, it's kind of has not changed too much. I was a little shocked, so I asked Aslam like why you have like 135 people last year and why you have about 150, so why it's not actually double, or why it's not like 200 already. So he already told me like it's because like before going through a dramatic growth or something, you are actually like building more and investing more into the managerial levels, building more into leaderships and other things. So should we expect, because investing 1 year into just growth of the C-level employees and other things, that means like you guys have built up some energy inside. So probably it seems like you will probably we will see like more growth in the future in faster pace. Should we expect that kind of thing?
Well, I'll answer this question in this way, where in this entire journey of last 9.5 years, actually reaching to a higher number of employees, number of employees was never a goal. Never it was a goal that okay, hey, we want to cross 100 or 150 or 200, right?
No.
But the entire growth was, as we kept getting the opportunities, we kept, we kept increasing the resources.
There is no target.
There is no target.
There is no target about the headcount.
Right? Yeah, so that was the important thing. And as Anil mentioned that we have been into industry in next 5 months we will be almost completing our 10 years of journey for Multidots, right? And at this stage, now it was our dream, since the beginning it was a dream for us to make a footprint on the world, and we wanted to make Multidots as a love brand, right? Where when we observe the last 10 years, we see that okay, apart from everything, WordPress has been something where we are very good at, and that is something where we will be able to put the values and add some we can solve some bigger problems around the ecosystem. So that is how we are envisioning, and as we do that, if the situations are there where we'll need more workforce, then probably we will be growing that number.
And I could understand and relate this as well, because your intention was to always put more focus on the team. So it was never what you will do, how you will focus. Actually came with time. So now probably is the time for Multidots history. Then you decide to actually focus more on WordPress. So that came like a like a logical choice with time. And now you are building ecosystem that actually needs this company keep on running and keep your customer happy, so their life could be less complex. So it's all actually sum it up.
That's right.
Anything else you like to add?
Yeah, I think in one word, when it comes to scale, our formula is we want to grow wisely, not widely. So we will make a wise growth, which means it will be an organic growth. We just don't want to add like 500 people overnight. We will actually organically grow along with our customer.
Really interesting too, and your story, all of the entrepreneurs' story and the journey is interesting, but your one is in a lot of sense like very peculiar. Like you start coming with the name with the master, you stop in a like a signal, then the light pops up red, and then you come with the dot.
Right.
Then you stand there for 3 minutes, then it pops up the green, and you come up with the multidot. So it's very interesting, and if we sum it up, I do see like the few more core value that you start the company, like be transparent, be for the people, and like you make this company focused on employees, not on like clients, not on money, not on like what you achieve and stay too much in US or whatever you plan. So, and also like what you want to do in future, that also clearly relates, focusing more on WordPress because you are good at it, because this feels like a right focus point for you guys in this point, and also like build business around it, and not like focusing more on like though it's very hard to believe in India. I hear like people needs to have like 100 people company, otherwise like they're not an IT company. But for you, no, that's not a matter.
That's the case.
We need happy employees who likes multi-dot.
Yeah, so we want to be great, not big.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are like very interesting thing to find, and I found it very interesting. And probably the other reason, like we had this conversation very well, because like we spoken and we open it up. We have not actually spoken like this an interview or this actually going anywhere. Though, like when I say this not an interview, that means like I ask all the questions. You guys actually should be able to ask the questions. So if you have any question, you could ask me. Otherwise, like I really like to thank you for making this time. You are actually flying back to US tonight, so I'm sorry like if your flight is left already or like it's waiting. So thank you for making this time, Anil, and also Aslam. Like I really like to thank you for arranging this and let me actually shoot this thing in Multidot office in a very busy day. And if you guys have any questions, like normal question, no peculiar question, please, you could ask me. I would be happy to answer.
No. First of all, thank you, Asif, for having us again. As I said, so now you know everything about us, right? Like how we started, how we are the childhood friends, school friends. So you have been already retired from the professional life, and you have been playing, since the beginning. You have played many more roles as an entrepreneur, as an investor, or as a developer as well. So any advices that you would like to give us that we should focus on?
No, I think like you are better in every aspect of life. So there is
that's a diplomatic answer.
That's an honest answer. Like
Okay.
From the beginning, I always respected Aslam because the way he's too humble, he's ground to that, and I have, after I came to know you, I have always followed you for both of us, each other. And I have known like you have very different kind of perspective about life. So I would love to even know more about you guys, and maybe I'm looking forward to like even spend more time so we could actually share some of the thoughts about life and about the wisdom about life. If you ask me about the advice, I would say like in the same like advice you have given to him and other things. So the main perspective about your life, not to focus on like you want to win or you're afraid of losing. So deal with it in a normal way, and planning is good, planning is not bad. Sometimes you need to take leap of faith, that is okay, but you guys are very compatible to each other, so you don't need to actually focus much on there. As you explained, like sometimes when you are going through a relationship for too long, you probably need to give some space in some time. You need to actually like refresh the relations and other things, so that will probably come organically with your time. And as I feel like Multidot will grow to be far more bigger in next 10 years, because first 5 years was the hard, then After 20 years, you will feel like the first 10 years were the hard.
Right.
Next 10 years will be even far more easier because you have so many people
Right.
that believes in Multidot, that believes in the culture that you have breeded towards the company, and also you have more muscle power in every way you could consider. So I hope and wish you guys will flourish more. You guys will do more in your life. Just like keep respecting each other and like be more open. I would suggest try to promote leadership among the team, try to push more people into like more leadership team. So if you need to take off 6 months, you have to create the options, otherwise like the company will be always looking for you. And if he's taking like 2 months lead by himself, you need to create this scope for him so he could actually get some time off for him, not like 10 days only, that's not working. So that's like more than that. So I think like you guys have like a very bright future coming ahead, and thank you again.
Thank you, Asif.
Asif. Thank you so much for having us here.